All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining another DevTest Community Webcast. I'm your Community Manager, Melanie Giuliani. Today on the webcast, we'll be going through upgrading to DevTest 10.2. We'll also be going over some tips and tricks for upgrading. On the phone today, we have Beverly Mindel and Kostu Wardy. They're two members of the DevTest product team, and they'll be both giving the presentation today. If you have any questions as we're going through today's session, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box. You can find that in the right-hand column of your WebEx screen. If you don't see the Q&A box maximized, there is a blue button up at the top right with a question mark in it. You can click that to expand it. You can put all your questions in there, and we will get to it throughout the session, and any that are left over at the end will be answered verbally. Or we also have the option to answer a question over the phone. So if you'd like to ask your question over the phone, you can hold it until the very end, and I'll let you know how to unmute your lines at that time. Okay, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started, so I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Take it away.
Thank you, Melanie. Hello, everyone. We're excited to talk with you today. Kostu and I, my name is Beverly, are excited to talk with you today about 10.2. What is available in 10.2, and as well how to upgrade and access the latest features on 10.2. Just some quick housekeeping, there's a legal disclaimer indicating that this is really designed for this specific purpose, right, and shouldn't be used, this content and material shouldn't be used outside of this purpose of what we're conveying, which is really what's new in 10.2 and how to upgrade and get the latest 10.2 functionality for CA Service Virtualization, CA application test. And we're probably just going to use the term DevTest to describe that functionality kind of moving forward in this presentation. The agenda that we're going through is really broken down into 4 areas. The first is why upgrade. We're going to talk about what is the value of upgrading, what new features you can expect to see in DevTest 10.2. Then we're going to talk about how to upgrade and try to provide some recommendations in order to ensure that that upgrade experience is a smooth experience and as easy as possible for you, as well as share resources that are available to help you both understand what's new in 10.2, as well as help with that upgrade experience in case there's resources or other things you want to look at as you're preparing for your upgrade. And then, of course, we'll have question and answer at the end, but please feel free to chat as well as you have questions. We don't want people forgetting their questions, so feel free to use the chat, or not the chat, I'm sorry, the Q&A typing option. So we're going to start with why upgrade. And really, it's important to be on a current version of, DevTest. We know that there are some versions that have end-of-service announcements that have gone out. Some are quite a ways away, so you still have time if you're on some of those versions. But a number of versions are already end-of-service, and we want to make sure that our clients get access to not only the latest and greatest features, but also to, quick support resolutions if they do have any difficulties or any, support needs. And so being on a version that is fully supported is really recommended in order to really expedite your overall speed to resolution and speed to getting started. We also want to talk about kind of the features that are available in 10.2, which you would get access to. And so we're going to kind of dig into a couple of features that we're going to show live. And the first feature that's available in 10.2 is a separate data directory for workstation users. We've heard from our users, especially in large enterprises that are, Windows shops, that their users use the DevTest workstation on a Windows machine, and they do not have, rights to edit in program files, and that would cause difficulty if they wanted to change certain information like in their local.properties files and other types of customizations and assets, right? And so this challenge caused a lot of difficulty because they were required to install in that location. And so one of the best practices is really to have editable data located in a user folder, no matter what operating system you're on. And so with the DevTest workstation install, we now can separate that data into a user folder, and we'll kind of demo what does that mean and show what that means. And then we've also wanted to make improvements to the enterprise dashboard reporting so that users can really understand how is their organization utilizing DevTest, what is your consumption, so how many virtual services do you have deployed, how many transactions are occurring, really understand what is your return on investment for your DevTest product so that you can have a high-level understanding of how is your organization utilizing and maximizing the value out of DevTest. And so we have enhanced the reporting that's available inside the enterprise dashboard, as well as embed an ROI calculator in order for organizations to help manage at an enterprise level how are they utilizing and gaining value out of the DevTest application. So I am actually going to start sharing my screen so that we can go through and look at some of these features. And Kaustubh is going to start by kind of walking us through some of the enterprise dashboard functionality. Just to confirm, Kaustubh, are you able to see the screen of the enterprise dashboard?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to let you kind of take it away and describe, and I will move along as you describe it.
Sure. Thanks, Beverly. So as Beverly mentioned, we've added a couple of very exciting features, additions to the enterprise dashboard. One of those being the ability to see the number of transactions per day at a view there. So if you look at the screen, the first graph here shows the number of transactions. You have the ability to choose the time period. You can drop down the dates and select whatever dates you would like. And once you change that, automatically the graph changes. So looking at the graph, if you look at the x-axis, it's talking about the date, and then the y-axis is daily transaction count. Right? So basically, since depending on the filter that we selected for the time period, you would see the data accordingly. Right, so here you can see that, let's take, for example, Jan 13th, right? And then once you look at Jan 13th, you can just do a mouse over on that and find out that the max daily transaction count on that day was 384, right? So if you, and that's how we've divided it. So you could just do a mouse over and select a particular date and look at the daily transaction count. Now again, why was this feature added? The main reason was because customers told us that, you know, all this data exists in the database, but we're not able to see it on a UI, right? We can get reports, we can write custom reports, or even use inbuilt reports to get data, but then we need a way by which we could look at a UI and say, okay, these are the number of max number of transactions that we've done on any particular day, right? And that basically prompted us to add this feature. So again, as the legend there says, it's a daily transaction count. Okay, moving on. The next one, similar request that we got from customers was, how do I find out the number of virtual services that I have running on any particular day, right? So virtual service, so this here legend shows virtual service transaction count. Similar to the other feature, you have the ability to change the date, select the dates, drop down the dates boxes, and choose whatever date you would like to see, and that changes the date filter, right? So once you do that, you will see that, again, same thing as an example, Jan 13th, is if you do a mouse over on that, you'll get how many number, that is one virtual service running that day, right? So if you have 5 virtual services, it will show you 5 virtual services. per day, if it's 10, 15, 20, whatever the number is, right? So again, this is a snapshot that gives you a quick view into the number of transactions and number of virtual services. Now, one important aspect here is what we're showing right now is the functional VSE. If you look at there's a box there, a selection you can do which says change from functional to performance VSE. When you say yes, that display automatically changes on both the views from functional VSE to performance VSE. Right? So it's not only just the functional VSE, but also the performance VSE information that you can see here. Okay, so that's about this. Now, if you go to, let's look at the ROI calculator, one of the features that Beverly mentioned. One of the other requests that we got from customers was, how do I find out what is the return on investment that I'm getting? Right? So again, this is the first version of the feature. So what we've done is we've added 4 different specifics here. Right? So if you look at the right side, we are showing you what the developer / QA staff productivity savings would be. Right, and so you drag the slide bar there, and once you drag the bar, the amount or the number on the right side changes. Right, so basically that gives you information on how much was your savings in terms of the developer / QA staff productivity. The question is, how are we basing these numbers on? Right, so for that, if you click on if you do a mouse over on the exclamation mark there, that gives you some details on what are the baselines that we are taking, right? So according to work research, these are the numbers that we've based everything on, right? So based on that number that we are taking here, you are able to move slide the bars and get the information. Similarly, moving on, the second one is the number of defects that we found during the acceptance testing. Right, so let's say you found 25 defects in the acceptance testing, which would have been a huge loss if it was found later on in your cycle. So instead of that, if you found this, it shows you the amount that you've saved by shifting left and finding defects during the acceptance testing rather than later in the cycle. Right, so again, if you want to see what are we basing this on, you can go to a mouse over on the exclamation there, on the eye there, and that will give you information on what are the baseline numbers that we are taking, right, and so on. Now again, understand that this is the first version of this feature. We'll definitely make changes to this feature as we move through 10.3 and above.
Thank you, Kaustav. I'm going to go ahead and share a different part of my screen to go ahead and show the feature that allows you to really break the workstation install into a data directory. So I have the workstation installer pulled up, and I have gone ahead and accepted the license agreement, and I have workstation only selected. When I have workstation only selected, I have the opportunity to specify a DevTest directory, and then also to specify where I would like the user directory to be. By default, it's going to pick the users, so that whatever user logs in, that it will know, and it will be able to say, well, it's going to be that user profiles directory. Although you could specify another location through the browse option. And it does identify some of the files that will be editable from that user location, such as your local.properties, logging.properties, the identify.xml, hot deploy, and the library folder for certain customizations, your projects and assets, and your example folder. So you're able to identify what information is going to be there. You can also do this with the silent install, so we have documentation on that, but basically you can specify both the destination or installation directory as well as the location for your data directory if you are kind of pushing this out to your users through the silent install process. It's not a problem. It works kind of the same way as the UI, just with you specifying the locations in that file. What we don't recommend is breaking up the folders into two directories with server components as well. This is a workstation feature specifically, so when you specify server, it's going to default to one location in terms of your destination directory as well as your data. Most of managers of servers do have the administrative and other privileges that they need, and so they do not require breaking up the data the same way that our workstation users do. And so that's a brief of how to kind of get this set up in the install process. Another thing that we did in order to make it easier for users is after you install, one second, I apologize. Just getting this pulled up. As soon as you open up the workstation the first time after you've done an installation of 10.2, if you've chosen to make your installation directory and your data directory two different locations, when you open up your workstation, in order to make it easier for upgrading from one version to another, we will allow you to select the DevTest folder where some of your other information may have been stored previously, so that we can copy over some of those files or assets that users already have and transfer them over to the data directory. So that is going to show up automatically, and you can just specify where you would like it to copy from, or if that's not something that you wish to do, you can always choose to skip that option. So that's how we've kind of made migrating those assets easier for our users. When you do click skip, we will copy the examples and default projects that are available. So we come with, DevTest is shipped with certain examples from, Lisa Bank and from, CARS application. Those example projects will get transferred over automatically. But if you have any specific assets that you would like to transfer over, you do have to specify that location of the DevTest directory. So those were a couple of the features that were introduced in 10.2. My colleague Kalstad is going to share with you a few more that are also available.
Sure, thanks, Beverly. Okay, in addition to all these exciting features that we just mentioned, a couple of other things that were added, and again, all the features are the new additions that we do to the product are based on the requests that we get from customers. So in application test, there's a REST step, which probably most of you used. That now supports the head, patch, and options methods. Now, this was a request that we've been getting continuously over the past year or so. That, the REST step supports everything else except these three. So we went ahead and added these three options, these three methods to the REST step. Improvements to database migration. We had heard some things from customers which said that when we are upgrading, the check needed to be improved. And having said that, basically, if you did not have proper permissions, you were not able to upgrade your schema, moving from one version of the product to the other. So as a result, we put in some database safeguards in there, which lets you, which displays proper messages in the log files, which tells you exactly if there's an issue with the upgrade, what is the issue and how that can be fixed. Right? So that's the database safeguards. And the third one is the session tracking and inspection view. So when we move from the server console to the portal, there were a few things that were missing in the session tracking and inspection view. So we've added those back. One is ability to view data in separate tabs. So so if you look at the session tracking or the inspection view for a particular virtual service, what you would see is it would open up as a pop-up window, and because of that, you could not look at any other virtual services, which was totally different behavior than what we had in the server console in the prior releases. So just to be in sync with all the other features, what we did was whenever you opened a virtual service session tracking or inspection view, we now open it as a separate tab, right? So you can open as many tabs as you want, and similar to the prior behavior that we had in server console, now you can look at multiple virtual services, multiple session trackings at the same time by moving through the tabs. Another thing that we added was filter by group tag. That is one thing that was also requested by customers. So we are doing that in there in the inspection view, as well as resizing information. There were some issues with the resizing where the data was getting truncated, and you were not able to view the entire data if the data was above, say, 100 characters. So that's fixed as well. Now, all these different additions to the product in 10.2, we have a link there, and if you click on that link, and it's again, you probably use our documentation site, which is docops.ca.com, and once you go there, when you select DevTest 10.2, you'll get all the documentation there. You can also look at all the new features and enhancements that we added there. You'll get a complete list of all those there. Okay. Now, again, over the past few months, we've introduced two new offerings. One is the Code SV, and the other one is the Service Virtualization Community Edition, or SVCE. Now, this was added a few months back, and with every new release, we keep enhancing these two offerings. Now, again, these two offerings are free offerings that are available to anyone that can just download it and start using it. Right, so Code SV, again, this is it's a Java-based API that lets developers to code the behavior of an endpoint. Again, it lets you basically virtualize HTTP traffic in no time. Now, we have a special website where you can go and download it. You can look at the documentation, you can look at the samples, and the website is mentioned here. It's codesv.io. Right, so that's for Code SV. The other one is the CA Service Virtualization Community Edition. So the link is there. So if you go to ca.com and go to trials, you should be able to select CA Service Virtualization Community Edition and request for a trial version. Right. So we'll just look at a couple of screenshots for this. So this is Code SV. Now, if you've used it, you'll understand what this is. And if you've not, we definitely encourage you to start using Code SV so that you don't have to leave your UI, you don't have to go to the workstation, you don't have to go to the portal from within your IDE itself. You have the ability to create virtual services, right, and do testing against them. Now, if you go to the website that was there on the previous slide, codesv.io, you should be able to see and get all that information. Right, moving on to the Community Edition, this is a snapshot, and it's again, this is a lot different than all our other offerings. Here, this is one single screen that lets you do everything. Right, so you don't have to go from one screen to the other. Everything's on one single screen. You have the ability to add transactions to a transaction bundle. You have the ability to create a virtual service from here. Again, this is all HTTP and web services only. There is no MQ and no other all the other protocols are not here. This is strictly for web services, and within literally a few minutes, you are able to create virtual services from scratch. You have the ability to use WSDL, you have the ability to use RR pairs, and so on. And what you see there is request and response pairs as well.
And I want to add the beauty of the Service Virtualization Community Edition is it really is easy to get started very quickly with using service virtualization. When we were at CA World, there was a new user that hadn't, created a virtual service before, and within under 3 minutes, they were able to create a virtual service very easily without any guidance. So it is meant for, an individual person who is getting started really to be able to pick it up and quickly start being able to generate really simple use cases that they need to virtualize. We also just wanted to share kind of the look and feel. You run a virtual service and you can, see all of the information and things around it. It's really designed around the user that's, getting started. And then additionally, I wanted to highlight our release notes. This is a really good opportunity. I know we've highlighted some of the new features that are available in 10.2, but we recognize that our clients may be coming from a release that is further back than 10.1, and so you may want to see what's new in 10.1 as well, or what's new in 10.0, and what are the additional new features from whatever version you are currently on. And so one of the nice things within our release notes is we do have a comparison of features. So you are able to see kind of quickly when were certain features added and learn more about those features as well. Again, today we've really highlighted the features and functionality in 10.2, but there has been obviously other features and functionality added potentially from whatever version you're on that you may want to check out. And at this point, we're going to transition a little bit into what does the upgrade process look like, how can you upgrade, and what are best practices around upgrading. And as you begin your upgrade process, we really recommend that you take a minute and make sure that you're prepared and ready for that upgrade. And so the first thing that we recommend is back up your environment. So, back up your assets, your DevTest directory, your databases, so both your registry and your enterprise dashboard. We kind of have a quick note, if you are on version 7.5 or older, you will have to uninstall your enterprise dashboard when you do the upgrade. But so once you have kind of that backup environment, as you're preparing to do the upgrade itself, you want to make sure that you're ready to do so. So for your databases, you do need to have your configuration files with the details for your database, and that the user account does need full DBA privileges in case there are schema changes that have occurred. And then we also recommend that you know your IT environment, so you know the information around the machines and the IP addresses and any sort of certification or LDAP information that you need. So just basically get that information prepared so that you're ready to kind of quickly conduct the upgrade. In terms of best practices as well, we often see upgrading to a sandbox environment first and allowing users to be able to conduct and complete their workflows through the sandbox environment, whether it's running specific application tests or creating virtual services. And that way it's kind of a low-risk environment that allows teams to continue on with their work, validate that the upgraded process is smooth and works as expected, while still maintaining your other environments. There are kind of two ways to actually conduct that upgrade. You can do an in-place upgrade. The advantage here is you don't have to, copy over or change certain configuration files, but those will be maintained. It's often the easiest way to complete an upgrade. The other option as well is to upgrade to a new location. So you would not specify the same directory. You may rename and have a new directory, and then have to set up or copy some of the configuration files. Kaustubh, is there anything that you want to add before, I guess, talking about what are the specific steps to the upgrade process?
No, I think you've covered that, Beverly.
Sounds good. Would you like to kind of walk us through the specific steps?
Sure. So moving on, let's look at the steps to upgrading. And basically, you would need, depending on the version on the OS that you use, you would need to download the installer, have the license key for the product. First, I'm making sure that you've taken all the backups. After that, let's make sure you shut down all the services and any applications that you use. Once that's done, you could run the installer. After the installer is run, all these files, there are many customers who customize these files, the local properties, site, Redis, Vim options, these are customized, right? So make sure that those, if this is then it depends on whether you're doing an in-place upgrade or in a new folder, right? If it's an in-place upgrade, all these files will be preserved. The installer does not touch these files, so it will just preserve whatever you have. If it's a brand new installation, and then you would have to move these files from the old location to the new location, right? Once everything is installed, you have to make sure that you have to clear the browser cache. That's one of the biggest prerequisites that we have for the DevTest portal. So make sure you clear the browser cache and then log into the portal. For version 8X and above, ACL is mandatory. We have an access control feature. All that information is on the DocOps site. Once you're done with this and you make sure that this installation is good, then you go to the remote components. If you have a remote VSC, go ahead, upgrade the VSC. If you have any other simulators, coordinators, whatever remote component you have, you would upgrade them one by one. Right? Once all that's done, you would start the services in the correct order. As you would know, dashboard is the first one that needs to be started because that contains the licensing information. So once the dashboard starts, start the registry, followed by the portal and all the other components like VSC, coordinator, simulator, if you use those. Once that's done, verify the enterprise dashboard connectivity, go to the 1506 port and make sure that the enterprise dashboard is coming up. Then the registry, check to make sure that the registry is displayed in the dashboard, which means that the registry was successfully able to connect to the enterprise dashboard. Verify all the other component status. Let's see, started the VSC or the coordinator simulator, make sure that all those are showing as active in the dashboard. Verify portal connectivity, go to the 1507 port where we host the portal component, make sure the portal component is coming up, log into it and make sure everything looks good like what you did with the prior version. Then you open the workstation. Now again, depending on if you use the shared installer for workstation, then when you open the workstation first time, it's going to prompt you to see if you would like to move the assets to the shared location, right? And Beverly's already covered that. So make sure that's done. And then once all that looks good, deploy a sample virtual service, or if you have a virtual service running, let's start it, stop it, and just make sure everything works fine. Verify that the virtual service works fine. Run a test against the virtual service. Make sure that the transaction count is going up. If you're using the application test piece of the product, if you have a test case, start the test case, verify the test case results, make sure that you're getting the results as you were prior to the upgrade. So all this is a part of the post-installation. Back to you, Beverly.
Thank you, Kaustubh. I want to take a minute to also kind of walk through what are the resources that are available as you're getting started? Because I realize there's a lot of information here, and we want to make sure that when upgrading to 10.2, you have a very smooth and easy upgrade experience. The first thing that's available is our documentation. We have also updated the documentation to really make it kind of easier to get started quickly and kind of mirror some of the things that we were talking about just now within your upgrade guide. So the documentation is there to really help you get started with your upgrade. We also have within the community a specific center focused on upgrade, where you've got all of the information from upgrade guides to our documentation to videos to just even chats. And we want to hear from you on the community. You can reach out if you have questions, but you can also check out the Community Upgrade Center to see the resources that have been put together to really help with the upgrade. In addition, we have, installation and configuration videos. So we have some videos that have been done on 10.0. Overall, the installation hasn't changed except for, it's 10.2 workstation installation, which has a little bit of a change, and so that has an updated video. But the videos on just how to install are kind of, bite-sized, and it can be focused on something very specific. So if you're looking at how do I, edit or modify certain configuration files within the install, you can specify and pick a video focused on that. And that way you don't have to watch all of the videos in order to prepare and begin, your upgrade. You can pick the one or two or three that are pertain to where you have questions. In addition, we also have a free education course that is available that walks through the installation of 10.2. So you've got the information on how to install and configure 10.2, and it is also customizable. There's on the left-hand side is the course outline, and you can go to a specific area that you would like to learn about and specifically watch that, so you can focus on your specific operating system or your specific tasks that you want to learn about. Although you're also welcome to watch the whole course as well if you would like to kind of get a refresh. So that is available as well. Additionally, this is less about with the install and upgrade, but more about kind of keeping a pulse on what's coming next. What is it that we're planning on doing in 10.3 and beyond? We do have roadmap sessions 2 times a month where you can sign up to attend to really learn about what functionality and features are coming down the pipeline for DevTest. So if you're interested in sort of getting a head start on what's coming down the line, you're welcome to sign up and join a roadmap session. I believe the dates have been posted up until March, so you can sign up for a session that fits well with your schedule. And of course, if you still need help, you can contact support. They would, love to hear from you. If you have questions and need help, you can contact your account rep as well. Or you can also reach out to us directly. So Deb and myself, we would be happy to hear from you as well if you have questions, or if you're planning an upgrade soon and you just would like to talk to one of us. And really, I wanted to summarize our goal for today. Our goal is really to help you understand and get excited about the features that are available in 10.2. Be prepared for an upgrade, so understand what it takes and be able to, take action and upgrade to 10.2. And if, have access to the resources and other assets that are available to help you with that process that we discussed. I think we're kind of going to almost close out and really have an opportunity to answer any specific questions that people have. So I think we're ready to open the phones and question and answer boxes in order to answer questions. And I do see that there was a specific question about asking if, you know, they can, if a user can have 10.1 or older versions and 10.2 in the same server. So that's the first question that we have that I see.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, can they have 10.1 and 10.2 in the same server? We'll start with that one. And just a reminder, if you have any questions as we're answering this one, you can go ahead and put it into the Q&A box on the right-hand panel of your screen. Or at this time, we'll also open up the phone lines for any questions. So if you'd like to ask a question verbally, you can click #6 on your telephone keypad, and that will unmute your line.
So, Kaustubh, you feel free to add to this. Yeah. One of the things that we talked about is 2 different types of upgrades, right? We can do an installation or we can do an in-place. So if you do an in-place upgrade, you are kind of overriding the information. Not overriding, it won't, but you are updating your version. So if you had an older version like 10.1 or 9.0 and then you install 10.2 in the same place, 10.2 is what's going to be there. If you do just a pure clean installation of 10.2 and it's in a different directory location, 10.2 will be there, and so you still have the backup of your own environment. And that way you can spin one down and you can run up the other one. But it would require, you know, copying and pasting of your assets and files, configuration files, as well as other things by doing that. Kaustubh, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah. So basically, it's you can have, as long as you install 2 versions in 2 different folders, you should be okay. We do not recommend doing that. But again, you know, as long as they're sharing different data, if they're not sharing any databases. And again, when you do on a Windows box, if you do an install, the services will be overwritten for sure, right? So if you choose that option, so it's a bit tricky trying to use one install from services, the other one from the command line, and then you know, we've seen some people get into a mess where they're not actually sure which version they are using and where are they developing their virtual services and running those. Right, so again, you can do that, but again, that's a bit risky for the reasons that I just mentioned. And I think there's another question, which is a lot.
Yeah, so we have another question in. Deploying a service with the same name was removing the old service without any warning. Is that issue resolved in 10.2?
So we will have to get back to you on that.
Okay. We'll follow up with you privately after the call on that one then. Okay. Another question just came in. What are the new REST API introduced in 10.2?
What's the new REST API?
Mm-hmm.
That's Beverly, you want to take that?
So I do know that within the API, we have introduced kind of a download MAR command. I don't know if it's like a specifically new one, but we have added that functionality within 10.2 from the API, being able to download a MAR command. If there's a specific feature that you're referring to from the release notes, please let me know if this did not answer your question.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Once again, you can ask it in the Q&A box down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, or you can click #6 on your telephone keypad to unmute yourself and ask a verbal question. Okay, we had another question come in. The charts showing the number of transactions and number of VSEs are great. Can I download these charts to my local machine?
At this time, there's not a direct export of the charts or download of the charts. We are continuing to iterate on the functionality and features of the charts. And so appreciate that this is something that you'd be interested in doing. I'd love to better understand when. So if you're interested, I would love to have a further conversation to discuss when you would want to do that and kind of why.
Okay, so I think this is a clarification of the earlier question. Let me just double check that. Oh, okay, no. So this is just a standalone question. There's one new functionality in Enhanced VS Recorder. Can you please help to cover that?
So that feature, so the Enhanced VS Recorder, so that feature was added in, not in 10.2, but that is added in 10.1. So you have the ability to create virtual services by using code. I think, and that's what I guess you are referring to. If you look at the documentation side, it should give you all the information on how that is used. So basically, the topic that you would be looking for would be virtual services invoke API, right? And that would basically give you, you can. So there are lots of steps in there, which lets you create a virtual service by recording. You have a new endpoint for that, so and you need to provide some authorization, some authentication, some parameters. There's a Swagger UI that you could use. There's a Swagger JSON. Basically, we have set up a Swagger framework for that. So you just need to go through the process of create a virtual service by recording. Then you are able to add transactions to an existing virtual service. You're also able to create a virtual service from RR pairs, and you're also able to add RR pairs to an existing virtual service. And again, you don't need to go into the portal for that. This is all you can do from outside using code.
Okay, last call for questions, guys. I'll give it just another minute or two before we wrap up. Okay. In the past, when I install server on a cloud machine and a workstation on a physical machine, the connection to the registry from the physical machine is hard to be established. Is there any enhancements around that?
No, I think, so served on a cloud machine and workstation. Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're installing service virtualization in the cloud and then trying to connect to it from your physical box. Now, I'm assuming the physical box is on your network, so it could be the network. It could be a network issue, the connection speed and all those things, because we've done that. We've connected to service virtualization registry and everything that's in AWS and on Microsoft Azure, and connected to those servers from our boxes from the network. And we haven't seen that big of a difference in terms of performance. So if you're seeing that, it could be something to do with the connection speed or something to do with the network.
Okay. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. I'm going to put out a short poll. If you could please just let us know what you thought of the topic today. We like to take your feedback and use it when planning out future sessions. So take a second to vote on that before you exit the WebEx. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you to Kostub and Beverly for a great presentation today. The recording, the slides, and the Q&A transcript will all be posted to the community later today in a webcast recap post. So if you'd like to access any of that, you can check back on the DevTest community later today, and you should see that posted. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions you think of later today, you can always feel free to enter them into the community. We're always monitoring that space to answer any questions you have, so you can feel free to use that as well. All right, well, thanks everyone so much for joining. We'll see you out in the communities, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.